Mm. ETE. I said, ETE Imhotep Seni Senet Ankwas Tejet Ankuja Seneb Dua 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 for listening and tuning in to another episode of PraiseTheDivine.org. Of course, you can check some of the other episodes right here on this channel, but you can also go to PraiseTheDivine.org, PraiseTheDivine.org, not .com, .org, and find more information just like this on our website, and you'll be seeing more things in there. Right now, I want you to go there when you get the chance. Go into the per Ankh. Make sure you wash your limbs 7 times. Then go into the per Ankh. Treat it just as such. I'm going to start putting rules and regulations on there as well, so that you start to understand and comprehend. Go on there, download the book, The Virtues of Ma'at, so that you get this information and that you can take the Ma'at course, which is free, and make sure you get some understanding and some guidance from the Virtues of Ma'at book, which I wrote myself, authored it. Very informative, very informative. Today's lecture is on Heka. See a Heka Hu Ma'at. Remember we did that. We did that during the Divine Body series. Today's lecture is on Heka. And this is going to be a series of talks that I have and discussions with some of our esteemed elders in the community, some of our brothers and sisters who practice Heka, and it's necessary. It's necessary to have, because we need to know how science, ideas, technology, etc., our spirituality was looked at in Africa. See, in Africa, there's something that there's which we'll get into in a minute. There's something where science and spirituality coincide. So when you're in America, they separate school and religion. They separate school and church are separate. In Africa, that wasn't so, and I don't think it's so now. But this is the beginning of a series. We'll have some strong speakers come on concerning. We'll have opposite views. So you're going to see some of that. But let's get into it. Let's get into the meat and gumbo. As I was saying before, the terms in the English language don't define some of the special words used in ancient cultures, especially in places like Kentihen Nefer, Nubia, and Kemet, Egypt. We have embarked on a term that needs a special definition and a breakdown so that it can fit into your normal society today, right? Because you have the argument going on around right now, science versus spirituality, right? But as I said before, in Africa, they're together. These things are unified, right? So the word or term that we use is called Heka. And in order to define Heka, we need several terms in the English language to make this word compute to the average practitioner or just to the layman who never heard it before, right? So to qualify its understanding for them, we need to use several English terms in most cases. So English kind of demonizes this, right? And one of the things that they say is your enemy's science, we call it magic. That's how they do you. So that's how they do you. So one of the main definition for Heka that you see is magic. The other one is spirituality. Right. One of the ones that we had a discussion about recently is science. The other thing, because you see Heka as a figure, you see the name God. And then you also see the name religion behind Heka. You see it mixed with medicine. And then, of course, you have it as a part of your psychology. And obviously, it was a part of the ancient Ramech's psychology. This is how they thought in terms of healing or of defense, which we'll get to. We'll cover all those things, right? Not everything about Heka today that would be a long lecture, but we're going to get to a lot of that. So Truly, because it's a mixture of all these things. We have to step into the better realms of the definition for the word. Throughout this series, you're going to see me bring on different people, as I was saying before, so they can make their argument as to what they think it is. But as we begin, Heka is found from what is called the Old Kingdom, right? Now, let me tell you something about ancient Kemet, which most of you probably know. They didn't separate things under dynasties, which are families that one of the Ramech brothers named Manito separated for some of the visitors over in ancient Kemet. But they didn't know such a thing as dynasty or intermediate period or any of that, right? They just knew they were living their lives. But Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, and New Kingdom is what these things have become separated into for the Egyptologists and for people to explain the long history of science, etc., etc. Let me get this off of here. Get out of there. So that's one of the things about Heka, right? And you find it as far as way back when, all the way to the time of the Coptics, our brothers, the Coptics. And one of our primary resources dates back to the 5th dynasty, the Nesubiti King Sahura. And Heka is seen as the tip, or what we call the head of, a bunch of different nTr, or what you might term as gods, for each septdot, which we call cities. And you see them giving thanks, or henek, as we call it, offerings to the king. We see a similar stela at Tomb B4 in Saqqara, the 5th dynasty. And we get a whole list of what we call sanus, doctors and physicians. And the Hemnecha Heka, what we call a servant or prophet of Heka, or a doctor, right? Sanu is a physician, a doctor, and a Hemnecha Heka is a servant or prophet of Heka who performs the same operations and different things that a Sanu does in a lot of instances, or that a Heka does. So let me share my screen a little bit for you guys, just so you can see a couple of the things I'm talking about, because sharing is caring, right? If I share, then you can see too. Let me present to everyone. And this way you can kind of just get an idea of some of the different materials I'm talking about. Let me get out of there. Let me show this crazy desktop. My computer's moving a little slow today, but bear with me, bear with me. I said show the desktop, thank you. And where we at? It is, where did I put it? 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 Here's one. We'll just pull up the picture till I figure out which one I'll put it in. So here's one of the tombs in the 5th dynasty. You see them giving the offerings. This is one of the tombs we were just talking about. And the brothers are giving offerings to the king Sahura, right? And the other king, I believe, is Mehu, or Mehi, they call it. So Mehu or Mehi, however you see it, same person. But they're offering gifts to the Nasu, the king. And lots of them that are coming with these offerings are Sanu. They're doctors. And they're dropping off the offerings. You see Jehuti's name above right there, right? You see Neb, Lord, Nebek, Nefer, etc., etc. We're not going to get into the reading right now, but these are just brothers coming to give the offerings, and they're doctors, they're Sanus, and they're coming to visit and work their what? Their Heka. As they start to work their Heka, as you'll see later in the series, they say spells and different things as they give the medicine and the medicinal portions to the king, my brother, and he Herod over here. So very important to know the who, the how, the what, right? So let's stop sharing there. And let me go into, here it is. It's right in front of me, right? Let's go into Mehu or Mehi, right? And this is the brother right here. This is the king, it's fourth or fifth dynasty, if you will. He's receiving the offerings, right? And he's all about that Heka. He's all about, creative aspect of things, different things of that nature. And he has these servants of Heka, these prophets of Heka, and these Sanus come to him so that they can perform these things and teach the different people in the kingdom. In the kingdom, you see right up there is Hekab, etc., etc. And so, get a look at your ancestors, so you know what they look like, so you know who you're dealing with, so you understand what you're seeing, so you can kind of paint a picture in your mind of what's happening at that time, right? Even if they're not considered your ancestors, some of the people who are on here watching, these are your ancestors at the end of the day. These are your people at the end of the day. Everybody's people at the end of the day. This is us. So these are the guys. They're giving offerings to the king. They're there to perform the Heka. They're there to do the magic, if you will, right? That's Brother Unis. We'll get to all of that in a minute. But that's the first portion of this. Let me stop sharing for 2 seconds. And like I was saying, Heka, seen as the Tep, seen as the head nTr. That's the fifth dynasty, right? Mir Heka Asesi Ankh, where he's mentioned in the Giza tomb of Senejum Ib, known as Mahi. That's you was watching, Brother Mahi, or Mehu, however you want to pronounce it. And in that tomb, in his resting place, he has a list of the doctors. So I'm just going to give you some of the names of the doctors who perform Heka, such as Api. Say his name, pour libation. Ni Ankra. Say his name, pour libation. Ra Akuef. Say his name, pour libation. Mir Heka Asesi. Heka desires Asesi to live. That's what that means. Sehetep Heka Winnes. Heka satisfies Unnes or Winnes, right? Sehetep Heka Teti. Heka satisfies Teti. So these are different kings that you may know, right? Huet Mir Heka Teti Ankh. The mansion of Heka loves Teddy, loves his life, right? So you can see different phrases that a king like Mehi would be associated with when the brothers who do Heka come to see him. These are those different terms. These are those different phrases, some of them. Now, we have to remember Heka was created kind of as, it was created as a defense, as one of the nTr puts it. But before we go there, well, yeah, we'll go there first. So Heka's kind of made as a defense, right? A defense mechanism. If you have your coffin text, get your coffin text out. I'll give you 2 seconds. If you don't have the coffin text, because this is rather expensive. This is not like the book of Coming Forth by Day, the Book of the Dead. This one costs a little bit, right? Well, let's go to coffin text 641. Let's dive into it. But I don't even think I marked 641. But I can find it real quick. Coffin text 641. It says, to be a great one in the realm of the Dua, I am Ra. In the midst of his eye, a lamb that goes out, a cry of war was given in the horizon. The, some is broken off. You know how we say that one's broken off. Of the nTr is withdrawn. This one comes because of you and of the 2 blood offerings. So remember, he says the 2 blood offerings. When he does the blood offering, one of the blood offerings is circumcision. When he circumcises, I'm trying to remember the text in the book of Coming Forth by Day because I'm about to pick that up. He creates Sia Heka Hu and Ma'at, doesn't he? Not Ma'at, but he creates Sia Heka and Hu, right? They are called the wisdom of circumcising yourself. So he says, I am Ra in the shrine of Ma'at. I surpass the great ones who are on the path of the foreleg. And you can see the foreleg in the sky. Remember the Big Dipper? We've covered that in another video. Go back and watch the videos. He says, I sit on my stool. I judge the retinue of the Eniyed, or the Pesejetu Eniyu, or the Necharu of Anu, or Asar, Aset, Jehuti. You know that. You know those guys who were born from Sebenu, right? Right. So you should be here with me. New listeners, go back and watch the videos, right? It says, for I am their ruler, and their gaze has gone forth. So when he mentions the two blood offerings, one of those blood offerings is what? Circumcision. Circumcision. It's one of the blood offerings, something you may not know, but you know now. Let's go to chapter 17 in your book of Coming Forth by Day. I didn't expect to do this, but sometimes when it leads us there, we just go with the flow. Just go with the flow. Let's go to chapter 17, and this just because I remember the chapter it's in. It says, names he opposed nTr. I know him, blah, 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 blah. We're going off the head today. We're just going to go in. But I want to grab the portion where he talks about circumcision. What does it mean? The navel string for men, Heru, protected his father, two kites, chaos natural, presence. All right, so right here it says, oh, you who are in my presence, give me your hands. Give me your hands, for indeed I am he who grew up among you. What does it mean? It asked the question. It means that the blood which fell from the phallus of Ra when he took to cutting himself. Then there came into being the Necharu who are in the presence of Ra, who are authority and intelligence, while I follow my father Atum daily. I restore the sacred eye after it had been injured on that day when the rivals fought. So authority and intelligence point to Sia, Heka, and Hu. Okay, so if you read the Medu nTr, that's what you're going to see. We're just reading the English for you right now. But that's what that means. That's the first part. So Heka has come into being. And Ra shows you that his two counterparts, intelligence and authority, have come into being. Sia, Heka, Hu, Ma'at. Remember, we keep those in order. But let's go to Coffin Text 261. When Heka announces himself in front of the Lord of all and in front of all the Necharu. 261. Let's go there. So you can start to put these things together. I didn't mark this one either, but it's here. It says to become a magician, to become the one who uses Heka, to become a what? The Heka priest, right? Didn't we cover that? We covered that. So to become one who uses Heka, a nTr Heka is what it's called. It says, O you nobles who are in the presence of the Lord, all behold, I have come to you. Respect me in proportion to what you know. I am he whom the soul Lord made before there came into being the two meals on earth, when he sent his soul, I when he was alone, being what came forth from his mouth when his myriads of spirits were the protection of his companions. So the first thing he says is, I'm a magician. I have come forth. Heka is here. Magic is here. And I came before the two meals on earth. What does that mean? The two meals on earth are the two dualities, Shu and Tefnut. So before any of the other creations of Atum Ra, Heka came into being. So he's a creative aspect. He's a creative aspect. And let's take a look at Heka. Let's take a look at the brother Heka for a minute, right? So I nTr Heka real quick. Let me share. Share the screen. This is Heka as a child. So the nTr walk, even the nTr walk a nTr through the act of being a child. So this is little Heka right here. You notice he touches the finger to the mouth. You see he has one of the scepters and he holds life in his hand. This is Heka. And let me tell you something about the nTr. They're always boastful. They're boastful and they talk braggishly. They let you know who they are, right? So he goes on, he says, when he spoke with Khopri with him, that he might be more powerful than he, when he took authoritative utterance upon his mouth. Remember, we just talked about authority and intelligence, didn't we? You see, he's pointing to his mouth. He has the authority. He has the intelligence. He says, I am indeed the son of her who bore Atum. I am the protection of what the soul Lord commanded. I am he who caused the Pesejet to Enu, or the Eniyed, to live. I am, if he wishes he does, the father of the nTr. The standard is high. The nTr is endowed in accordance with the command of her who bore Atum, the august nTr, who speaks and eats with his mouth. I have kept silence. I have bowed down. I have come shod into the presence of the bulls of the sky. I have seated myself in the presence of the bulls of the sky. In this my dignity of greatest of the owners of the doubles, the heir of Atum. He is the heir of Atum. This is the son of Atum Ra, as I just told you before. I have come that I may take possession of my throne and that I may receive my dignity. For to me belong all before you had come into being. You nTr go down and come upon the hinder parts. For I am a magician. I am Heka, basically. That's what he's telling you. So this nTr here that you see, that's what he says. He's very boastful, isn't he? The little cuss. He's very boastful, little Heka, as a nTr. And he's put here as a defense for man. And he's quick to point out that he is Atum Ra's firstborn. Atum Ra's firstborn. Then Sia, then Hu, then etc., etc. He's the firstborn of Atum Ra. He's Kapra. He's creative force. He can also turn into Shu, but we won't get into that today. Like I said, we're going to kind of keep this short and simple, nothing major. But this is this nTr, and you see how boastful he is. He told the other nTr, get down, get low. I am Atum Ra's first. And anything done is with me. So the doing of things is Heka. The protection of things is Heka. The coming into creation of things and into being of things, the Kapara, he just told you, the Kapara moment, as you always hear me state, is Heka. It's Heka, and that's Heka right there. Let me stop sharing for a minute. So this is Heka as a nTr, coming forth in the coffin text, right? And we could go to pyramid text 472, just because. Well, let's pull out the pyramid text. You may not have this one either. It's a little expensive. Don't worry. That's why your brother Asar will read it to you. Let's go to 470, right there. Let's see how boastful he is. He says, the sky quivers, the earth quakes before me, for I am a magician. I possess Heka. I have come that I may glorify Orion, Asar. That I may set Asar at the head, that I may set the nTr upon their thrones. O O Mahav, bull of the nTr, bring me this and set me on yonder side. He's telling you. He creates the earthquakes. Anything that happens is a Heka moment. Any creativity, any protection, any destruction even. Remember, Pep also uses Heka. We'll get to that in another series. Anything is Heka. That's a creative notion that comes into existence, that comes into being. That's the Kapara moment. This is Atum's first son. It's his very first son. What else is there? Pyramid text 539. Huh? Let's go there too before we. I'm good today. Huh? And it popped right into me. So it says, I'm going to cut into it 1324, pyramid text 539 in your books. It says, it is not I. It says this. It says, the earth shall not be plowed for him. No offering shall be presented to him, but I will ascend and rise up to the sky. It is not I who says this to you, you nTr. This is a king talking, by the way. And he's telling the nTr what the deal is. He's telling the nTr, he's commanding the nTr what the deal is. He's letting them know. He says this. He says, but I will ascend and rise up to the sky. It is not I who says this to you, you nTr. It is Heka who says this to you, you nTr. I am bound for the lower Iyet of Heka, and I will ascend and rise up to the sky. But as for any nTr who will set up the stairway for me, I will ascend and rise up to the sky. And as for any nTr who will provide my seat in his bark, I will rise up into the sky. Why? Because he's in command of Heka, the words of power. So the nTr will listen to a king because he commands the words of power. And Heka is the doer of these things. So let's look at some of the things that Heka is about. Let's see where he appears in some of the texts. It says this. It says, this is in the tomb of Ramses VI. It says, the soul of Ra is in Heka, which the particular terms are Iuba Imhekau. And he says, Heka Pubai, magic is my ba, magic is my soul. This is Ra telling you. Magic is his soul. The souls of Ra are in the Heka. Let's go further. Let's go further. Because now we have an idea of what we can call, or a better term to use, Heka, just from the description of him and what he's telling us. So I would suggest this. If you're around somebody who doesn't like spirituality, you're a real stickler on it, just to appease if you don't feel like getting in an argument. Say a word like lore, right? Or it's a discipline. Or it's intellectuality, right? Because you don't want to say pedantry. That's bad, right? But say things like learnedness or prestigitation. This is a difficult word to pronounce. Prestigitation or theurgy or thaumaturgy, the working of wonders of magic or miracles in Heka, right? Or sortilege, right? Or augury. You know what augury is? Augury is divination in its practice, the rite of ceremony, omen, token, indication, right? You know what theurgy is, right? It's a system of beneficent magic practiced by, they tell you, the Egyptians, the Platonists, and others. The working of divine supernatural agencies in human affairs. Even though it's not just that, it's also the medical, it's the scientific as well. But these are better words. You know, you can use like presage, right? A presentment or foreboding of something that portends or foreshadows a future event, like you can see, you know, it's a prognosis, right? It's augury. It's a type of augury. We just covered what augury is. So these are words that you may want to use when you're in the presence of somebody who disrespects or doesn't like spirituality. Talk above them, talk beyond them. This way they're like, huh? Say, go get a dictionary, you scientists. You supposed scientists, because I'll tell you a story in a minute, not right now, right? So we can go to Coffin Text 261, which we did earlier. It says, to me belonged the universe before you, nTr, had come into being. You have come afterwards because I am Heka. So he's telling you his place in the order of nTr. Atum Ra, Atum Ra's wife, and they made Heka. They made Heka. Let's read some more about Heka before we close it out. Book of the Dead, New Kingdom, Book of the Dead. It says, I am one with Atum when he still floated alone in noon. The waters of chaos before any of his strength had gone into creating the cosmos. I am Atum at his most inexhaustible, the potence and potential of all that is to be. This is my Heka protection, and it's older and greater than all the nTr together. That's the book of the coming forth by day from the New Kingdom. That's Heka talking. I told you the nTr are boastful. They tell you what they can do. You can start seeing the universe as just different nTr. That's all they are. It's all these different aspects around air. We call that Shu. When it's on Earth, if you're looking at the north, we call it what? Duamutef. If we look into the lid, it's Kebesanuf. If we over here, it's Imseti. If it's behind me, it's Happy. If it's just around and we're talking, it's Heru. Then they put the onk to your nose so you can breathe life. That's all we're talking about, is different aspects of nature. And we apply mythos to them. So you have respect and honor for them. Let's go further. This is what Aset said. This is 26th dynasty, the Lactans of Aset, I believe they call it. She says, I am Aset the nTr, the goddess, the possessor of Heka, who performs Heka, effective of speech and excellent of word. So every time you talk, you're using Heka. Hold up, you don't understand me. And we don't even show the sisters enough, right? We don't show ladies enough. So let me pull our set up so you can understand me real quick. Let me pull her up real quick. Am I sharing? I'm sharing. There it goes. Let me pull Sister our set up real quick. That's her right there. With baby Heru on her lap. It's gonna get blurry. It don't matter. That's her telling you. She is excellent of word. She commands Heka. She got Heru's horns on her head, don't she? Feeding Horus. Feeding little Heru. She commands Heka. What does she say Heka was? Words. How do we know what she's saying is the truth? Because in the mythos, she says the spell and the Tsar comes back to life. Who teaches her the spell? The nTr of Heka, Jehudi. And when Jehudi starts to speak for her and teaches her the words, she's able to say the words. She knows them now. She possesses Heka. Jehudi is the creator of these things. Hello. You know what it is. You know what it is. Let's look at Jehuti. That's Hesi-Ron Company. That's Unis. But let's look at Jehudi for a minute. You see Jehudi? You see the scepter he's holding right here? This is Heka. You know what this scepter is right here as well? This is your medical symbol. This is your medical symbol. The staff of Heka with the two cobras on it. And who's wielding it? The master of who? Of what? You know what Jehudi is. Go look up Jehudi. Then go look up Heka. We're going to look up Heka today. But you see Jehudi. You see he's holding the staff. This is where your medical staff developed from Heka. If you don't know, and the doctors will tell you that, and they still take the oath that's similar to the Hippocrates oath, the Hippocratic oath, if you will. And the Hippocratic oath comes from the oath that we heard Uzurhat Resonant read the other day when we did his African spirituality. When African spirituality create science? This is the Heka right here, right there. So you're watching Heka moments every time you look at a medical symbol. Every time you look at a medical symbol, you're seeing Heka moments. And you may not even know it. You may not even know it. Let's end it out, right? The king orders sacrifices. Let's go to my brother Unis. To the Hannibal Kim, as everybody calls it, right? Let's go to the Hannibal Kim. As they call it, the cannibal him. Pardon me, I'm saying it backwards. Thinking about Hannibal Lecter. The cannibal him, where he's supposedly eating this and that, right? It says the king orders sacrifices. He alone controls them. The king eats humans, feeds on nTr. Does that mean he's eating humans and feeding on gods? No. That means that he's feeding on their information. He has presented on an altar to himself. He has agents to do his will. He fires off the orders. He's screaming loud when he says this, right? If you've read his text, he says, the king eats their magic. He eats their Heka. He gulps down their souls. The adults he has for breakfast, the young are lunch, the babies he has for supper, the old ones are too tough to eat. He just burns them on the altar as an offering to himself. Pyramid text 273 through 4. Old Kingdom. He's talking about eating their magic and eating their information. But I want you to hear it like this. It's an English translation. If I read the original, it's a little different. You can tell he's gaining their knowledge. That's what he means by eating them. But he's eating their Heka. It's how he becomes knowledgeable. It's how he becomes knowledgeable. Let's keep going. There's a couple more demonstrations of Heka, and we'll end it out. It says, utterance of all the well, let me show my brother. Let me show my brother Unis. I'm a little scatterbrained tonight because I came from the gym. Y'all know how I do it. Let me show my brother Unis, because not a lot of people have ever seen Unis. You just hear about Unis, but you don't know what he looks like. Pour a libation for your brother Unis tonight. Tonight. My brother Unis, where you? There we go. That's the homie. That's the big homie right there. That's Unis right there. You've never seen him before. Pour libation for King Unis, so Winnus, as you might hear it, right? Pour the libation for the brother. There's Heka, Aset, Mehi, that's Hesirah. You already know what that's about. Here's another. There's another priest of Heka. And you see him holding the two serpents in his hand. And his head is two serpents. Does that mean that's a real person like that? No. No. But what it means is that he's a Heka nTr, and he can perform Heka. And he'll put the two serpent staff together, and he has Heka. And he could perform what? He's got to be some type of medical priest. He could be a dentist. He could be a creator or something. He could be some Ptah priest who does Heka. Ptah says he does Heka too. When you create the monuments. Just so you know what it is. Just so you know what's going on, right? Brother Unis, Heka, right? Let's finish it out. Let's finish it out. Let me stop sharing real quick. Let's break it down. Then I'm gonna come to the chat in a second. Come to the chat, right? So when we go to uh, the coronation of Hatshepsut, utterance of all the nTr to Amun-Ra. Amun-Ra is saying this about Hatshepsut. He says, "This you, this my daughter who live, we are satisfied with her in life and peace. She is now my daughter of your my daughter of my form, whom you have begotten, prepared. You have given to her her soul. You, there's some pieces broken off, your bounty and the Heka powers of the diadem. So you see Amun-Ra giving Hatshepsut power, her Heka, her Heka. That's the 18th dynasty, right? 18th dynasty, Hatshepsut. You know I got to put the women in here nowadays. Nobody talks to the women, huh? Let's read another one. Jehudi the first, or Thutmose the first, when he's talking to his daughter. His daughter is about to be crowned, right? He says, "Come, glorious one, I have placed you before me that you may see your administration in the palace and the excellent deeds of your Ka, that you may assume the royal dignity, glorious in your Heka, mighty in your strength." Jehudi the first talking to his daughter, giving her excellence, and Heka. Heka. Let's go two more, right? It says, he the sun nTr, he Ra, would just say, Ra created for them Heka as a weapon to fend off the blows of the happenings, the teachings of Mary Ka Ra in the Middle Kingdom. That's what this comes from. He says Ra created Heka to defend against magic as a weapon. We just talked about Atum-Ra creating Heka to fend off the blows of the happenings. That's what the Heka is for. That's one of the uses of the Heka. There are vessels in every limb of the body. When some physician, some Sakrament priest, some Heka lays his finger on the head, on the back of the head, on the hands of the place of the heart, on both arms and both legs, then he will feel the heart, as there are vessels in every limb of the body, and it, the heart, speaks at the beginning of the vessels of all body parts. This is the Eber Papyrus talking about Heka. It says some Sekhmet priest, some magician lays his finger on the head. Some Heka, nTr, is doing this. So Heka is not just for war, not just for evil magic, not just for medicinal purposes, not just a god. Heka expounds pretty much any creative aspect of life, any creative aspect in your journey is Heka. And when you use it, you're remembering who you are and you're being an Asar. Ankwas the Jet, Uncle Jasanab. Let me check the chat real quick before we get out of here. Let me see my brothers in the chat real quick. Come talk to my brothers and sisters in the chat real quick. See what y'all talking about in the chat. I see you, Vice. My brothers in the chat real quick. Let me kill the noise in here. Because I am spitting that flow, any Herod. Initiation of word. Yes, cosmic thought. It's the power in the words, right? So Heka is words of power. That's one of its definitions. Cast into the dua, deal with the pep. Yeah. Now, the funny thing that you say that, brother Inherit, remember, a pep also has Heka. He also has a magic, which we're going to cover later. We'll cover that later. He said Kofi Sudo. Shout out to my brother Kofi. Make sure you guys go watch Kofi's show. We were just over there just a minute ago. Brother T'Challa did an excellent presentation. Shout out to Brother Jerron Towns. My man Sutek Heru. Peace. We engineer. You'll know how we do. So that old Brooklyn magic, that old Brooklyn Heka, y'all know what it is, man. We got a whole series on this. It's going to be nice and lengthy. We're going to have some more speakers coming concerning. Right now, I'm just getting it wet. I'm getting it open. I'm not saying too much. But just so you get an idea of Heka, get your books, man. Don't get your books. Get your books, right? I told you. We did it the other day. We got a whole presentation, the Divine Body series. Sia Heka Hu Ma'at is all through this book right here. It's all through this book right here. So, like I said, remember who you are and be in the SAR. Uncle Astajed, Uncle Jasaneb. Use your Heka to bring that girl to you. Use your Heka to ward off the brothers who be tripping, flipping out. Don't use your Heka to persuade those brothers to bring them home. Bring them on in. Bring them home. Use your Heka for the other cultures so they understand and comprehend, not to demonize what you do or your African spirituality, your quality. You're a theurgist. ETE Imhotep Sani Sana, Anquastija.